Here's part two. I checked out the Astell and Kern booth, had a listen to the SP4000, which I liked, but it seems to be more reference tuned than my DX340, which again, like I said, has been modded to the 9s, and I preferred my DX340 in terms of resolution, detail, musicality, bass, so everything. I didn't think the SP4000 is worth the money for it's asking for. So then I tried out the Astell and Kern collab with, was it 64 audio, the Stella, and so it's a balanced IEM, resolving. It's bright but not offensive, and the bass is neutral. And I was wondering, why does it sound familiar? This tuning sounds familiar to what I've heard recently. And yeah, and I pulled out the squiggling and I compared the graphs, and yes, it's got a very similar graph to the Subtonic Storm. So tuned very similarly, but obviously it doesn't have the technical capabilities that you get in the Storm. So if you're looking for something like the Storm, but you don't really want to spend that kind of money, or you don't want to wait for a set, the Astell and Kern, the Stella is a good option. Was it Volk or was it 64? I can't remember who's the collab with, but yep, that's the Stella. Pretty good. Unique Melody Maven 3. So I used to own a Maven 2, and I have the Unique Melody Masked Fortune, and the Maven 3 is like a child, the love child of those two sets. So it combines the best characteristics of both of them. So my issue with the Maven 2 was a shouty treble. If you don't get the gain right, if you don't get the right ear tips and everything, the treble gets shouty. So I've always had issues with that, which is kind of why I sold it. But I liked that it was very, it had energy. It actually had very nice treble extension, and it was soundstage was wide, and it was a very, very good set. So when I heard the Maven 3 was out, I was very, very keen to hear it. So the good news is that shoutiness is gone. They have toned it down. It still has slightly forward vocals, especially female, but not to that level where it troubles your ears like the Maven 2 did. I don't know, maybe it doesn't trouble you, but it did to me. So it's a balanced tune. There's a bit of emphasis in the mids. It has BCDs in there. So the bone conductor actually makes notes are more 3D. So this is where the similarities with the Fortune comes in terms of the way the BCs are used. I find that the Maven 2 is smoother. Maven 3 is smoother than Maven 2. When I A-beat the Maven 2 with the Fortune, it sounded incoherent because of whatever the way it's the frequency response has been tuned. It sounded incoherent, and which is why I sold it. If you listen to it on its own, it's fine. But when I compare the Maven 3 with the Fortune, which I was using at that time too, I did an A/B on it. It didn't have that effect anymore. It was smooth, it was coherent, and that BC had that same kind of character that it has for Fortune, where it makes notes a bit more 3D. It comes out at you, and it calls for your attention. So that is very, very nice. So the Maven 3 is definitely an IEM that you should be considering if you're a fan of the 2, or you're a fan of the Fortune, or you're a fan of Unique Melody, and I think they've done a very good job with it. The treble is also not as spicy as the Maven 2. It still extends and it's still airy, but it has brought it down a little bit so it doesn't get harsh. And I'm talking about the upper trebles, of course. The lower trebles, as I mentioned, it can get a bit shouty for me. So yes, do consider the Maven 3. It's a good set. Next IEM was the Faith Audio E1000. To my ears, it has got a bright neutral tuning. It's very resolving and there's a touch of warmth. Bass is neutral, but there is a good thump for the mid bass. And the IEM is basically clean and transparent with an airy treble, sparkly, crisp, slightly spicy. So I can see why it's getting a lot of attention and building its reputation. So a very pleasant IEM to listen to, but I wouldn't want to pay that kind of price for it. I think if I compare it against the Dita Ventura, I think the Ventura has a bit more finesse and technical capabilities that this one does not have. It has the Ventura, I find, is still more resolving. You get fuller notes, you get a more realistic timbre than the E1000. Day two, I listened to, I went to the 7th Acoustics lab, 7th Acoustics booth, and I tried the Asteria and the Kairos. So Asteria is, I think it's sold out already, or maybe there's a few sets left, but I was really, really impressed with that set. It has a spacious staging, which is holographic and circular, and it's a balanced tune with good vocals that has this effect of floating above the rest of the instruments. It's got good sub bass, but the mid bass thump is stronger, I think. The vocals are transparent, textured, and it's got very nice, airy and crisp treble. Treble is full bodied, it's not wispy, and there's no sibilance. Bass is tight, very great control of speed for the bass. Vocals and separation are the standout for this IEM. It kind of had the same feel to me as the PMG Apex ME. Yeah, long name. So to me, it felt similar to that. I really need to A/B the both of them to see which is better, but I don't think I'm going to get a chance to. But I did get the same feeling and the same kind of experience that I think I had with the Apex ME. So yeah. Then I tried the Kairos. So the Kairos is apparently, it's not a limited edition, and it was created, it's basically, from what the creators are saying, that they took the learnings they had from the Asteria and then use it on this to make the production process smoother and more efficient, so that they're able to not limit the number of sets that they produce. And in terms of the way it is tuned, it's a more energetic version of what you get from the Asteria. So if you like the Asteria, but you thought it needed a bit more, it needed to be a bit less laid back, then the Kairos is the set for you. It just turns everything up one notch, all right? So your bass thump is a bit stronger, soundstage is bigger, vocals are a bit more forward, a bit brighter. The mid bass though has a bit less slam than the Asteria, and it's also more airy and brighter in terms of the treble. So I went back to the Elysian Acoustics booth and I checked out the Annihilator 2026. And my memory of the 23 is a bit vague because I only heard it briefly, and there was like months ago. I can tell you that the bass, I wasn't a big fan of the Annihilator 23 bass. The 26 has definitely fixed that issue in terms of being a lot more controlled, more textured, more tactile. Quantity probably about the same from what I can hear. Otherwise, the way it's tuned is very similar in terms of wide soundstage, but not very tall, not very deep, but it's yeah, their focus is more on wide soundstage than depth. Treble, it's definitely more reined in compared to the 23. I don't hear that the ethereal sound of the 23's treble. It isn't missing in any way. It's more controlled, and I think it's more balanced, to make the set more balanced. So I was trying it out with Effect Audio's new arc oval tips, which will be coming out soon. So keep an eye on that. That's a white ball tip, and I think it was all right. But if I'm not wrong, what I hear is Divinus Velvets are the stock tips that come with the Annihilator. Vocals have good detail on it and great texture. So it seems to have a bit of improvement in the vocals compared to the 23, which seems to had a bit more recessed vocals than the set. Okay, imaging is good, but I find that the tonality leans a bit bright, so it's not the most natural sounding IEM. But you know, if you are looking for something with a very balanced, energetic tuning, good bass performance, I think this could be something you should consider. Fatfreq Effect Audio Grand Maestro Anniversary Founders Edition. I'm sure I missed out a few words there, but this is basically the flagship for Fatfreq. and I had a good chance to listen to it too. And I don't know whether it's me or my dad or something, but I thought I would be getting a lot more bass quantity than I had. So it's a more balanced kind of tune set than I expected, but very, very detailed, super wide stage because it's using the super stage module on it. Very nice height for the instruments to find their own space. So vocals are slightly recessed. If you want the vocals to come forward, just push the module in and you'll get a bit more forward vocals. So that's from experience with the Quantum, which has the same module. But I like that there's a lot of sound staging tuned for everything to have their own space without sounding unnatural. So I think this is the key highlight from this particular IEM. The bass didn't hit as hard as I was expecting, as I mentioned, but it's very textured and it's resolving. The mid bass has very good impact, and decay is also very nice. Instruments are fade out naturally. So in terms of tonality and timbre, it's also a very natural IEM. I did find that it might be a bit more dry than I would like. Very technical in the sense that it does everything excellently, but it misses that bit of musicality that would have made it very special. But yeah, it was a good IEM. And so while I was at the Fatfreq booth, I tried out their new prototype. So this one has very great impactful bass. Could be the module again, but this was using the bass module. Did a great job of it. Now, if I remember correctly, so we're not supposed to reveal too much about it, but basically it's planar with BAs, if I'm not wrong, right? And it's based on the Quantum. So it's built based on that. And it's definitely an improved version compared to the Quantum. And I know that the bass module in the Quantum doesn't hit as hard as this one does. So there is a bigger quantity in terms of bass for this. It rumbles very nicely and deep, while mid bass also has plenty of impact. So it's not one or the other. You get both. So very, very nicely judged and nicely tuned for bass. It's a very well controlled and very tactile set because I think it's fast. Planar component will definitely show its character there. So decay if you are looking for something that decays very nicely, you're not going to get it here. It will decay and it will just stop there. I've heard certain cymbal hits just go cut off at the end there, right? Soundstage is great, very nice. Vocals are smooth, but it's not very textured. And I think that was the same with the Quantum. You get very smooth, detailed vocals, but you don't get a lot of texture, a lot of the micro details. It doesn't come out that well. So same thing here. The treble is crisp, there's no sibilance, and there's good air. How does it compare to the Quantum? That addition of the BA drivers gives it a touch more smoothness, a touch more body to the notes, and it sounds fuller and sounds more musical without losing that energy and the dynamism that the Quantum has. So I'm actually quite impressed with this set too. And I moved on to the Crinear booth, and I had a chance to listen to the Monolith. So the Monolith is it's definitely a bass head set. So L-shaped. All the focus is on the bass. The rumble is deep. The mid bass impact is present. You get some impact there, but there is some bleed from the bass that goes into the mid. So I wouldn't call it the most technical or clean sounding IEM. Treble is also present and crisp, but there's no sibilance, but it's not airy, sparkly, or crisp, or all the various kind of descriptions that you have for treble. It's present to do its job, and everything takes a backseat to the bass on this. Mids vocals are recessed, so mids are also slightly less emphasized than, again, the bass. Bass guitar actually sounds quite thick, unnaturally thick. So again, due to the way it's tuned, so it's not going to be a natural or organic sounding set. So keep that in mind, but I think it has place if you are looking for something that's more bass heavy. It has 2 DDs, so I don't know whether it's something that scales up well with power. I used my DX340, which has about, I think, 1,003, 1,005 milliwatts at 32 ohms, so that is actually enough to power a lot of my IEMs already, but I do find that if I want to get an extra oomph, I need to pair with something else, right? Like a PV6. But maybe it does help. I can't tell. I think it's coming out soon, and it's a limited edition, limited to 999 sets and priced at about $350. So if you're looking for something from Crinear that's a more bass heavy, this is the set for you. And be fast, yeah. 999 sets. We know what happened with the Meta. I also had a listen to the Nightfall, which is the next set after the Monolith. This is a budget set, I think $100+ or thereabouts, and to my ears, it's a bit of a warmer variation of the Daybreak, but I wouldn't say. I was telling Crin that, hey, it sounds like the graph was tilted from that Daybreak. You had it and then just tilted it. He said, yeah, because he wasn't too pleased at that. So no, it's not really that, but it's a warmer sounding set, and it has got good stage. The treble is rolled off, so I think it's something that you would buy and put in ear for background listening, for casual listening. Definitely non-fatiguing, very smooth presentation, not a lot of detail or technicalities. Bass has good rumble, but yeah, it has its place and it has its target. So if you're looking for something to start off with the Crinear line and you don't want to spend so much yet, so this is an option for you. Nightfall, let's call it Nightfall. Next, I went back to the Noble Audio booth to check out the Luban. It's got a wooden shell and it's got a wooden diaphragm driver in there. So we know what that's going to mean, right? It's going to have a warm analog tuning, and that's exactly what it is. It's organic, natural, and laid back. There's the microplanars in there. Yeah, I think the microplanars for the treble. So it has an interesting effect because this is going to be a set that is very tip dependent. My first tip I used on it was the Divinus Prism, which doesn't work with it. It just made it incoherent and sounded like really weird with warm analog, lower frequencies and very bright upper frequencies, which just, yeah, it just clashed. But if you are looking for something that works better, I found that the Divinus Velvet paired well with it, and it brought out its character nicely. So it's got that analog, warm, laid-back sound, slower attack with slightly woolly hits when you're listening to music. So the staging is very good. Technicalities are all right. You're not going to be able to pick out all the micro details that you can hear from other sets, but it is meant for you to listen to things. If you like vinyl and you are looking for that more analog sound and you just want to listen to something laid back and relaxed, I think the Luban will do a good job for that. Not my cup of tea. I prefer something with more technicalities, more detail, but I think it's great that companies can come up with more niche and targeted IEMs, and this is a good example of what it is, right? Because if you're looking for that, then this will probably hit the spot for you. The next booth I visited was the Forte Ears booth, and I had to check out the new one called the Violetta. And I think, to me, this is one of the highlights of the show. It's got a natural, balanced vocal focus tuning with good treble. Treble has got good body, can be a bit spicy, but it's smooth. Impact from the bass comes mainly from the mid bass, so not so much on the sub bass, but more of a mid bass focus set. Very resolving, very detailed. very good imaging layering. The way instruments or effects move from your left to right is very nicely done, better than quite a lot of sets. It actually made me, when there's a sweeping tap from Queen Mary, you know that song Queen Mary, right? So essentially, when you move from left to right, when it was on my right side, I thought my left ear was off, and I thought I needed to adjust it. Actually, it wasn't. It was just more that tapping sound had gone all the way to the right, and there was no trace of it left on the left side, to the point that yeah, very, very nice. Staging is a bit more intimate, but it's not cramped, and the instruments are given their own spacing. I hear that this is going to be priced below the Macbeth and the Mephisto, and I heard it's a single DD. I don't know whether I was mistaken, but that's what I heard, and I think it's if it's priced below that, I think maybe about $2,000 or less. And if you're looking for something different, something that complements the other two, I think this is very, very nicely done. So keep an eye out for this one, the Forte ears Violetta. All right, the last IEM I demoed was the Dita Project M2. Dita is known for producing single DD IEMs, and so this is the same. So I wasn't a fan of the Project M. I thought it didn't do much special. It was all right. Didn't really I can't really remember much about it. The M2 is a neutral bright tuned IEM, so which is kind of like Dita sound signature, where they like to tune the treble to be more spicy and brighter. The bass on here is controlled, very deep, good decay, but the treble to me was a bit too bright. So it's airy, it's crispy, it can sound a bit splashy though. Higher pitched female vocals also gets pulled out in a way that doesn't sound very natural. So anything that's on the upper frequencies can get kind of muddled together. I'm not a big fan of that. To me, I don't know, maybe I need to change ear tips. Oh wait, I was using the stock tips, I think. Yeah. So that to me is the biggest issue with this IEM. Separation is a bit better than I remember from the Project M, so I think that has improved. Micro detail is very good. Staging is wide, slightly deep, not super deep, but it's just enough to allow some space between instruments. The layering is just average, so not the most well layered IEM there, and imaging is okay. So as I was saying, the staging is slightly deep, but I think if it was deeper, you will get better sense of space for all the instruments and the imaging. But yeah, it's just there. So I think it's a very competent set. But that treble, you need to find a way to, unless you're a huge fan of that kind of treble. And I'm old, right? And technically my hearing above 15K frequency, 15 kilohertz is gone. I can hear at the most is 15 kilohertz. But I found this piercing. I found this a bit too sharp for me. So I think the treble can get over exuberant and it can lose its composure. But I don't know. Again, play some tips, whatever. If you're a fan of this set, or if you're a fan of the original, maybe you might like this. But it's not for me. I think it's priced about $400 over dollars, or is it Sing? Can't remember if it's Sing or US dollars. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah. So thanks for watching. I hope this was able to give you some idea of the various IEMs that were being exhibited and displayed at Canjam. I had a great time. I look forward to going again next year. I'll see you guys on the next one.